the fun begins.
Hello, and welcome to the Council. We begin tonight's meeting of the Council by calling the Council to order. Hello to everyone, and thanks for joining us. The Council is a live Twitch talk show and podcast discussing Star Wars: The Old Republic. I am Elise, and with me are my fellow Council members, Reda.
Yo ho ho.
Magic Ace.
Hello.
And Sakari.
No, and a bottle of rum. You would have said yo ho ho, and you should have said and a bottle of rum. We would have been done.
I do not conform. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. I wish I had been next.
I'm sorry. I should have put you second.
Well, it was all on Magic Ace to spike it.
Because you're always last, so.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. It means that I can try to make some stupid joke to lighten the mood. I don't know. We'll see. I should probably shut up now and let you finish.
Tonight we're going to talk about playing the GTN and making money.
Do you like my title graphic?
Yes. I'm going to be interested to see how we do this because I think we've touched on this before. Maybe not the making money part, but just
yeah, we talked about
losing money.
GTN.
Yes, we definitely discussed losing money on the GTN. Yes.
But after we talk about both, winning and losing, because Sakari is inevitably going to mention a heartbreak or two. After this, you can find our recorded episodes everywhere podcasts are found, including our YouTube channel and our social medias. Like, the Council is everywhere, pretty much. So you can also find us on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/thecouncilswtor. And you can check us out on Twitter, which is @thecouncilswtor. And our website is www.thecouncilswtor.com. And don't forget our Patreon page, which is patreon.com/thecouncilswtor. But wait, there's more. You can also use whatever search engine you have and type in the Council SWTOR and then hit the enter button. Boom.
And it will forever dominate your destiny.
Heck yes.
Yes. All right. So thank you very much, Elise and Magic, for getting our show started tonight. This is the moment we talk about the Icebreaker question. The Icebreaker is just a quick question to get the chat started. We will go into our topic of the evening. But to get us introduced tonight to the topic, have you ever had any success in making money on the GTN so far? Basically, have you been able to sell a single solitary thing is probably what I'm asking. Elise, how about you?
I think I sold a total of 10 things during my time playing this game. And I made money twice, and that's it. So
I'm trying to think. How many things has she won on my stream again?
None. None. So
okay, good.
Is the lucky one.
So you're not regifting.
Regifting, no. That's hilarious.
I got a statue of the Mandalore or something like that I sold.
Why would you sell that? That's a deco. You don't sell decos.
I know, but I didn't. I did that one. I had 2 of them, or I had.
Okay.
There was like a couple of Mandalores, so I sold
but you need one for every
them.
stronghold. Come on.
No, I'm good with just one. I'm not huge into the statues, to be honest with you. They're not my favorites, but regardless, I sold that. And I think I made some. But when I came to this game, I looked at the GTN. I noticed all the stuff that were 3 people's names and all this stuff in multiple categories, and I said, "Been here too late. Yeah, I'm out." That's what I did. So.
Also in chat, when guild ships came out, he made enough money on the GTN to buy his guild's ship.
Yeah, that's
talking trash right there.
Isn't that 25 million?
Oh, I think it's 60, isn't it? 60 mil?
60? It's 50 million.
Whatever, it's double digit
50 million to purchase it, but I forgot how much it is per unlock, 5 million or something like that. I can't remember.
Yikes. Okay, Magic, what about you?
Or maybe it's 50 million complete with the unlock. I can't remember. Anyways, I have made more than my fair share of credits on the GTN. Different ways at different times, depending on what was popular at the time. I go through a mood of when I want to play the GTN game because it's got upkeep involved and I don't like that. So my method of making money on the GTN comes and goes with the tides. It's like I'm following herds of buffalo to keep my living going.
Okay.
So that's basically what I do. So yes, I have made money on the GTN, a lot of money.
So now, are you the hunter or are you the buffalo?
I'm the hunter because I follow the herd, and once I'm ready to, shoot the arrow,
Fair enough.
I shoot it, get my buffalo, and I literally use everything till I have nothing left. It's great.
Okay. Well, it's better to be the hunter than the buffalo because the buffalo also follows the herd, except the buffalo is the one getting sniped. So, hey, I'm just making a terrible joke. I'm so sorry.
There's no sniping involved because I'm talking arrows here, but okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say the last time I ever heard of buffalo hunting, it was like a dangerous sport because you weren't miles away trying to shoot them from range. But
Redna, you have a body tonight. I just noticed.
I do.
That's so amazing. I think I was getting used to seeing you with no shoulders, and now suddenly you have shoulders this episode. It's quite a change.
I've officially lost enough weight to not be ashamed of my body.
Unhide. That's hilarious. So, what about you? Can you have you ever made any money on the GTN? You sold anything?
I do remember back in the day. Now this is years ago, long before CXP was ever introduced. I remember that me and my buddies, because it was just like I would scan everything as I went walking by. And then it was really easy to just make the augmentation kits, because you just make something and then reverse engineer it. So we figured out what the cheapest thing was, reverse engineer it, get those components. You need 10 of them, and then you just use more of the same materials basically in order to make an augmentation kit. So I did those back in the day and actually made quite a bit of money just, as I gathered mats, make them, put them on the GTN. Well, I can't remember. It was like 75,000 each or something like that. I don't know what prices are like nowadays, but yeah. So back in the day, years ago, this was probably like Shadow of Revan and before. I was able to. I never had to do dailies or anything like that because I would be making enough of those things in order to cover my repair bills.
Right. Yeah, that was probably back in the MK8 days. I think they're Mark 10 now. I want to say. So. Is it right?
Yeah,
the augmentation kits.
Skip 9 or something like that. I remember they skipped one once.
Yeah, something like that. I know we're at 10 right now. Yeah, I mean,
if I remember correctly, they had MK910 kits. In the when the MK10 came out, they said they were going to skip 1 and go straight to 11, but they decided not to. When they released the new AUGs, they said they would keep the slots at 10. So 10's the highest. So what we should have been having is like 11 and 12 by now. So technically there was a skip, but it's just in order to save people money because people were throwing a fit how much they had to pay every time they upgraded that they kept the 10 augment slots.
Yeah. So that doesn't make any sense to me because everyone's happy to fork over money for the new stronghold, like to the tune of 16 million.
Because when you're
they complain about the kits.
Well, because when you're a raider and you have 3 or 4 tunes that you need to do that to, you have, approximately 50k or more per kit if you don't craft them, and then you have the augments as well. That means that's 14 kits and 14 augments, and then you've got that for 3 or 4 tunes or more. That's a crap ton of money. Like that is a stronghold. So it's like,
no, that I think
because I crafted them, but I was constantly looking for resources and I was fighting people.
You just got crazy quiet. Can barely hear
you.
Yeah, you are still there. We can't hear you though.
Well,
yes,
I was fighting people for resources back at that time, and so whenever they announced that they already had them, it must be a connection issue. I don't know. My connection says it's still good, but anyway.
Blame your kids. It's okay. Nothing wrong with that.
She is right here. She is right here.
Well, she was sitting in your chair before we went live, all up in your stuff. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe that'll.
No. That's Magic. That's a really good point. I mean, yeah, it's one thing for them to roll out a new stronghold, but yes, when they defeat everybody's tunes, suddenly everybody's having to run with obsolete gear. I know that whenever they roll out a new expansion, it's probably about the best time to do that because people do what they can with what they have, and it takes a while to get people rolling when new expansions come out. So here we wait for 6.0. That'll set everyone back. If I'm to answer this question, I actually found that I make more money basically retailing things. I buy things low, sell things high. I play that game pretty decently, and I played it for a long time, and it's actually working pretty well for me. So that's really what it boils down to. You just kind of keep an eye on a couple, three markets, but the trick is really to get to know the market. You know what the average prices are, you know what the fluctuations are, you know when it's kind of high, you know when it's ridiculous. That's when you step out of the market. So yeah, and then when it comes down to it's low, you know, okay, that's a low price. That's when you buy it, and then you wait for it to kind of cut to high, and that's when you sell it. And they did increase the GTN prices recently, right? It used to be 6% or something, and then now it's 8% or something, just to be a little bit more of a drain on the economy. So it kind of keeps inflation at bay. So they've done some of that, but that, I mean, if you've got an equation, you can actually work out what the equation there and work out how much you have to sell it for to break even if you're buying and reselling. So there is some math to this. There's some spreadsheets if you really want to get involved in it. But we know how Elise is with spreadsheets. She loves them. Spreadsheets are the bomb. All right, so I'm going to issue to chat, since we don't have a poll for the night. I'm going to issue to chat a challenge. Join us in this discussion if you would like. Notable entries we will make sure to mention during the show. But do you have a creative way to make credits on the GTN? Is there some way that you're aware of, something that you could throw out there just to help us poor council members?
I like that poll. Tell us how you use the GTN.
Yeah, how do you use the GTN? Now, I think Ron Allen, was it you said that you just don't do it? I think already decided not to get into it because feel like everything is overpriced. We will talk, I'm pretty sure. At least agrees, apparently. But we'll get into pricing on the GTN, I'm pretty sure, as we go on tonight. So, okay, so if we cross into the deliberation segment, here's where we get going in the discussion on this. Be sure to check the show notes. Elise has shared with us, I don't know how many good resources. There's one that Volk put out. It's not on the list now, but I think I strolled across. I did it at work, and they've got gamer sites blocked, so I wasn't able to check it out. But there's I know it's awful. But there's two guides, I want to say, that SWTORistas put out that we'll make sure to link, that are how to make some money. These are at various levels. Some of them are right at the 101 level, where you're just now wanting to start, okay, how do I make money in this game? That's a good place to start. Then there's some of the advanced users like, okay, I want to make millions. How do I do that? There is a couple of really good resources that we got from Reddit. In fact, it seems to me like a conversation that comes up on Reddit fairly often. So
there's probably something on the website as well, the forums. I just didn't get to there because it's a little bit more difficult on my phone to do that.
Right.
So, and I did not put YouTube videos. I can add those at a later date. But
absolutely. Anything you got, we'll put in the show notes on this.
Yeah, or just articles to start.
Okay, so I do want to preface, before we get into the discussion on this, there is no right way to make millions in SWTOR. I mean, it just depends what your playstyle is. If you have time...
Oh.
Yes, go ahead.
Can I mention, I also added SWTOR Economics. I put 2 articles by him. So
yes,
he was really good about talking about the markets from a financial professional's perspective. I really enjoyed his stuff.
Yeah. So. There is no good way. There is no one way to do this. There is multiple paths to this. Just like in real life, it's how you're creative, how you understand things. If you set yourself up, it's almost like a surfer, right? A surfer knows the wave is going to come, so that's one thing that you have to know. Gets positioned, and when things start to build, make sure he's in the right position, and then paddles like crazy when that swell is at its peak, and then is able to ride it from there. And that's essentially what the deal is. I think sometimes getting positioned and knowing what's coming is a very helpful. And I have something
Thank
I can.
You for tuning in to Surfing by Sakari.
Yes, I tried surfing once. It was not I was not good at it. I embarrassed myself. I'll just leave it there. So. Okay, so in order for us to avoid this becoming a solo Sakari episode, let me ask you guys. Let me throw the question out to the council. What do you guys agree with Ron Allen's assessment that the GTN is essentially overpriced? Let's unpack that a little bit. Is it overpriced? Do you agree with that? And if so, why?
Well, yes and no.
In the context of making money off of it, I would say, what does it even have to do with the conversation? Like, if you're going to buy something off of it, maybe, but isn't that the whole point to having a market? The price is what people will pay for it. If people are willing to pay for it, then it's priced where it ought to be. If they're not willing to pay for it, then it doesn't sell.
Right. And so then it is irrelevant what price it is.
Right. But if I'm trying to make money off of the GTN, I'm not trying to buy things. I would assume, although I know that there are supposed to be ways to corner the market or whatever, but I would like to be more, I'm more interested in finding out how I get to the point where I can have enough coin to start doing that whole corner a certain market, or, buy a certain item out and inflate the price or that sort of thing. I'm not even at that stage, so.
Right.
I think things are overpriced if it's like one of those things where it's like 400 or 500 million. I'm like, come on. The average Star Wars player does not have that. When I come across something like that, and believe me, it's there. There are things there, those prices. I come across those and I'm like, really? I mean, there's like what? Like, that's literally the 1% of game players that have that money. And most of them that have that, they have it because they don't spend it. So you putting that price there, they're probably still not going to buy it because they made that much money by not spending their money ever.
Or they've been in the game long enough that basically, they've been sitting on really expensive stuff, or and they can put it up, or they've been in the game long enough to have accumulated that much money, or they buy cartel market stuff a lot.
So I don't think the market itself is overpriced because, like Renan made the point, but also because, like, if you don't have the cartel coins for something and you want something so bad and you see something on the GTN and you're like, oh, I want that. Okay, go make your credits, go buy it. You have what you want and you didn't spend any real money other than your subscription.
Sure.
Because otherwise you can't spend more than like 350K. So, to me, I'm like, I don't think it's overpriced because you're working towards something. If that's what you want and you can't afford it in, like, the cartel coins there, then I don't think it's overpriced. Except for, like I said, the things that are like 500 million, things like that. I'm like, no.
Right. So I would argue, in answer to this, that it is essentially no different to real life. As a seller, well, hang on. Let's talk about market forces. Let me make my argument here.
Okay. So just as long as you understand that the digital market forces have absolutely nothing to do with reality.
Well, okay, let me unpack this because you guys are shooting me down before I've even made my argument. Okay, so as a seller, my attitude is I want to get as much as I can for this item that I want to sell. Am I on track so far? I'm getting a nod from Magic, so that's good. Okay, so I want to get as much as I can selling this item, and I think every seller in real life who's selling a loaf of bread or a pencil wants to say, okay, within reason, what's the maximum amount of money I can get for this where people will sell it or will buy it? So that's my attitude as a seller. The opposite is true of a buyer, right? I come into the market and I say, okay, I want to buy this item for as cheaply as I can find it. So that's when competition becomes a thing now, because a buyer can come into the market, looks at all of the sellers and says, okay, that guy is willing to sell it for 1 cent cheaper than that guy is willing to sell it. That's the lowest price. I'm going to buy from the lowest price. So what that sets up is a supply and demand. That's what essentially competition is. And we're all aware of this, right? We see in the GTN where people get on there. I want to sell 5 of something. If I'm smart and I know what I'm doing, I'm not just shooting in the dark. I do some market research first, right? I look and say, okay, who's selling this for the cheapest? And then, okay, if there's a person they're selling him for 50K, then I can list all of my 5 individual items for 49K. Let's say I'm willing to take a hit on 1,000.
$49,999.
Yeah, something like that.
The rest of the market.
All right. I mean, there's some people that'll, okay, I'll sell it for 20K, and that's when everybody gets angry, because then the next person who competes jumps on there and sells it for 19K, and it's like, what are you guys doing?
Although I have actually had it happen, because when you sell something on the GTN and it sends you a little letter that says your thing is sold, it'll be, your credits will be in the mail in an hour, right? And it tells you who bought it. I have had circumstances where I undercut just barely, And then I went, and then I noticed that somebody, and I posted like 8 of them, right? And then all 8 get bought in a swath. And I look at who bought them, and it was all the same person. And then I go look at the GTN, and it's the guy that all the ones that were close in price to mine, but that are at 10K more than what I had put it up for, are from the guy that just bought them all from me. Then I will be like, heck yeah, I'll just keep putting those out there because this guy's going to buy them all up off of me to try and pull 10,000 credit off
because
of me.
He's controlling the market. Yeah.
Right. But he's totally buying that market out, and I'm totally okay with that.
Because you're selling.
I do that if it's something small, like when Mission Veo's armor first came out, and it like everyone wanted it. It was crazy expensive. I got my hands on 3 sets for like super cheap, and I equipped one, of course, and I changed my Twi'lek skin color so she could be Mission and run around with her Zalbar, which was not Zalbar, but anyways, I thought it was a necessary thing. So I went and sold one of them, and I immediately got like 10 million off of it, and I was like, yeah, I'm so excited, because back then I could never even keep like 1 million on a character, so 10 million at once was a really big deal. And I sat on the other one for probably 2 or 3 years, and I sold it earlier this year. I was so ecstatic. I sold it for like 15 million, and I was like, yes, because I thought it was going to be super cheap after all this time, because I was like, oh, well, now you can direct sell buy it, so it's not going to be worth anything. And I go and look, and nobody's got anything up there, so I put the whole set up there and made 15 million. Right after that, the market was flooded with them, because I guess the cooldown timers from them being direct sell came off, and so then it was flooded. So I just got that perfect window.
The timing was good, no kidding.
Yes. So those old things that you have that you haven't been selling for a while, a tip to help you out. If you see they just got released onto the market, you put it on there before someone else can get it on there from their timer. Because even if they buy it off the cartel market, the second it goes live, they still have that timer.
Right.
But you don't have the timer because you've had it for X amount of years. So that's a good time to sell, because the people who can't wait to get their hands on it, they see yours on there and they're like, oh, okay, I'm going to get it now.
Timing definitely matters. I agree about timing.
Okay, but how did you get those 3 previously?
I believe I got one in a pack, and then I think my now brother-in-law, who was a friend at the time, gave me one, and I'm pretty sure because my guild knew how much I wanted it, they pitched in and gave it to me. So I felt so guilty, and I couldn't tell them that they all gave me the same gift. So I just wore it.
Hang on it forever.
Thank you so much. You guys are so great. I didn't tell each of them that they all gave me one. So I just held on to it because I felt guilty and embarrassed, and I didn't want to give it back to them and be like, oh yeah, well, so-and-so already gave me that, and make their gift feel less.
Yeah.
So I just kept it because they gave it to me. So I kept it. I didn't give it away or anything. So I kept all 3.
Okay, so still the bigger question is, what can I do in game to earn credits?
Well, Archman.
So hold on. Can I talk from someone who comes in way later than all of you?
Absolutely.
In this game?
We've been waiting to hear from you anyway.
So I mean, I heard what you were saying about this being like a real market, but the fact of the matter is it isn't. So the problem is that, and I think we talked about this on one of the other episodes that we talked about the GTN, is inherently this is a closed system. And if there's not enough credit sinks, the wealth moves towards the people who have been longer compared to the people who have been here less. So when I started this game, I was like, oh, I like crafting. Oh, I like resource gathering. I do it for fun. And so I got in, and I was looking at the GTN because everybody's like, oh, if you want to make extra money, do resources. Crafters like to get it. Well, when I got in, that's not where any of the money was. Like, I think I probably spent more time. Like, the profit, the benefit, cost-benefit ratio was not the same. And, like, crafting armor and stuff, when I started, nobody really was buying it. It was just GTN stuff.
Sure.
You had to buy packs on the GTN to get into the market. And so that's what I was faced with when I started it. And so I
and to actually take it a step further from that, like my previous method was to make augmentation kits and augments because that was easy. I had all the different classes. They had all their crafting maxed out. So, and like, I didn't even necessarily need to make too much money off of it, but I would make them, give them to all of my friends, you know, whatever. And now, in order to make those things, you're required to have materials, crafting materials that come out of the CXP random boxes, which is just as bad as having to buy.
Or you can rank PvP. You just don't want to rank PvP, but you could do the.
How do you? Okay, you're educating me. Tell me, how do you rank PvP for it?
Yeah, so if you do solo rank PvP, and I think there's even more available if group ranked, and you don't have to be good, you just have to get a group of 4 of you together and go finish your weekly, essentially. The materials, what are they? Magic, you probably know what the name of them are.
Well, the one that I am always looking for is the charge matter transubstantiators, because that's what you need to craft the current augments.
Those are available as rewards for solo ranked and for group ranked. So they actually did it
on a weekly.
Yeah, on a weekly, yeah.
So once a week you can get a couple of those materials.
Well, I think it's up to 5 if you do the group ranked or something like that. But I mean, you can get a steady influx of them in addition to the packs. I mean,
okay, right. Yeah. So, but nevertheless, you literally can't farm it. You're limited to how much you can get a week to a very small number.
Everybody
is. It's not something that you can just be logging in and doing and playing and farming and then crafting and putting on whenever you've got spare time. Instead,
you guys, okay, so what you're doing is...
I'm just saying, because that's a gap, right? That's a significant gap that prevents the ability to actually play the game, spend your time, earn your materials, and then get credits for it.
See, the problem is everybody...
Is there an item like that you can actually play the game, get stuff, and then sell it on the GTN, right? Like, so... Okay, so for instance, and the chat room's mentioned it a few times, and this is the only thing that I know that I can do to get money. And part of it was I got a huge influx of credits because I hadn't been doing anything with my companion gifts. And I went to my legacy bank while I was streaming one night, and one of the tabs is all golden companion gifts, right? Because I was planning on, at some point, getting onto a character and deciding, okay, I want to get this companion influence up to whatever the max is now, 40 or 50. But I just didn't want to take the time to get onto a character, do the research, and then eat those gifts. And so I'd never gotten around to it. I filled this. They're like, dude, those sell for so much. If you're so desperate for credits and can't afford to cover your repair bills, sell your companion gift. So that's like the single thing that I do is
companion gifts is a good strategy.
As I'm doing the CXP packs, I open them up and they give me a gold one, and I don't disenchant that. Instead, I stick it in my bag. I stick it on the GTN, and I make a couple 100,000 credits off of it.
Right.
Now, the last time I did this was when I finally needed to get enough credits in order to finally augment out my gear, because I finally was in all 248s, and I needed the augments, which were all like 230s. Right. So I was way behind. My DPS went up by like 1,000, but just by augmenting. But to do that, I ended up making about 20 million credits by selling those companion gifts. Again, totally dependent on the random generation of the CXP packs. Although, correct me if I'm wrong, Magic Ace was saying you can buy them for 250,000 at Odessen, and I'm pretty sure that there were certain CXP packs that I was selling for more than 250,000.
Back before the comm system changed, there was a vendor on Odessen that you could trade in your comms to get gifts. It was when they first started giving you all the companions, when Odessen was like the new content. It's down underneath like where the cantina area is, but towards the side where you can check your mail and your guild bank. So this vendor now, since they changed the comms system and they don't want you to use comms for it, now sells them for credits. And I'm pretty certain it's 250 credits, which
or rank 6
for
gold,
rank 6 golden
companion gift.
Yes. Right. And so the justification for why they put them at that price, because everyone was like, that's ridiculous. I believe they said because that would be the equivalent of the 30 comms or whatever it was that you spent. Like that's how much you would be paying if it was the comms instead. Like they said they did their math thing, and that's what they said, that the 30 or whatever comms
I think they overshot, but okay.
I do too.
All right,
fair enough. They said however that was that you would have paid for it, that was the credit equivalent to it. Because you remember what happened is if you had so many, they would transfer it into credits into your inventory at the time.
That was their ratio.
That's how they used it. So how many ever credits you had and how many ever comms you had and what credit equalization they gave you in the compensation for it. That's how they gave the price tag for them. So anyways, if you don't want to spend, 3 or 4 million on one of those gifts or 750K, why don't you go on over to Odessa and try that out?
Right.
Because 250K is cheaper.
Yeah.
Or go on over to Odessa and buy them off of that vendor and sell them for more on the GTN if they're selling for more.
Totally. Well, I mean, so to me, that if the vendor is selling it for 250K, that's a market cap, in my opinion. The GTN should be selling it for less.
That should be, yeah.
Because why would I buy it from you for 280K when I could just go buy it from the vendor for 250K? So that vendor, and the vendor has an unlimited supply. Trust me, that caps the market. There's just you have to sell it for less than 250.
Right, but you're assuming then that everybody has that knowledge, and we all know that's not true.
And you know what?
Actually,
okay, and there are sellers.
Said for the fact that there are plenty of people that haven't played any of the Kotfi or Kotet information and can't get to Odessa or the other locations, so they can't actually go to that vendor and buy it.
And a seller that is worth his salt understands that and takes advantage of it.
That is not true. You can go to Odessa if you've never done the content. The day Odessa unlocked, I looked at my legacy and there was a quick travel. I paid the 200K, unlocked it, and went to Odessa and then realized I have to pick up the story. So you can go.
That's true, but again, you have to have the knowledge you can do that.
Right.
I could guarantee to you there are people that don't.
And to the point of the knowledge, one of the great tricks that I remember learning in a different MMO that I played, the first one that I ever played, they have APIs that you can write programs for, and one of them was how to kind of manipulate the GTN, like Auction Master or something like this, right? And one of the things that you could do is actually have it query against the data, the auction database, anybody that's trying to sell anything that is lower than the price that you would get to sell it to the vendor, just to trash it from your back. So, and then you could automatically buy up all those things. So if you actually knew what those items were, what their prices were to sell to the vendor, you could just go and buy them up and just, you had to have the capital to buy them in the first place.
Turn around and vendor them.
Go put it on the vendor, literally just junk it and be making profit.
Cool.
Okay, so Redna mentioned something key, and Elise, I want to say this to you now. He said, have the capital to buy it in the first place. Okay, so earlier on you mentioned, now this is a bit of a challenge to your strategy that you had. You said, okay, when you started this game, you heard get some materials. Oh, it was a strategy. Get some materials.
No, I don't play.
Oh, well,
farm do it.
farm the materials, and you should be able to sell those and make some money selling the materials, right? That you gather along the way. Okay, so what you do is some materials are better, or sell better than others. I think this is a game that I played for a while. Why would I spend the same amount of time gathering one material, which sells for 10 units, for 10 credits per unit, when I could buy and spend the same amount of time and gather up a different material that sells for 20 credits a unit? So obviously you pick the one that's the more lucrative, and you can find that out just by looking at the market. Look at all of the materials.
Okay, time out. I'm going to stop you right there.
I'm not done. Okay, so
that's the problem.
Okay, so you don't want to do the work.
Stop you right there. I don't want to have to spend all of my time doing.
Okay, well there you go.
I had just gotten into the game. Other games it was easier.
Okay.
And I just got into the game, and I didn't want to spend all my time working the GTN. I wanted to play the game and do something as I went along.
Okay, well hang on though.
Involves
Given our topic tonight is playing the GTN though. Okay, right. So let's assume that you are willing to do the work. Okay, so you do that. Okay, look, yeah.
So what
it's not everyone's cup of tea. It's not everyone's cup of tea. I have to acknowledge that. I mean, yes, I will give you that. If it's not your cup of tea, it's not your cup of tea. But what you do is so you basically, why would I spend the same amount of time getting less out of it than if I spend it elsewhere, the same amount of time and double my output, my income based on that? What you do is you build up some cash, even if it's slow at first. You build up some seed money, some investment money. Then you transfer it to a different market. Okay, let me look at this given mount, for instance. There's all these mounts. You watch the market for a while. Okay, here's where they tend to be when they're selling low. Here's where they tend to be when they're selling high. So you start using that money to invest. You buy all of the cheap ones, and then when the market at the right timing is big, sell them for when they're more expensive. Voila, you make a profit. So you move from market to market. And if you want to stay in that market, you can build to where you totally basically dominate the market. But all of the sources that you were sharing in the articles earlier, there was a key common thing that came out, at least when I was looking them over. Everyone said you've got to build a chunk of money, and you've got to turn around and don't spend it. That's your investment money. You just keep reinvesting that money, and that's what you'll... Agreed. You have to have money to make money, and that's a real life principle.
Unless you're just, moseying along. Oh, here's something we didn't mention. So one of the things I do to do that, to make the money, to have the money to, sell the things, I just go do CZ 198 and Dromund Kaas and Tatooine on Imp's side for heroics.
Sure.
It gives me enough money. I go get something that I want, I pop it on there, and I just keep putting it back on there until it sells.
So to me, that's a counter argument.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Get something you want? What is it?
So
that you want?
like if when I was selling all the Mission Veo armor, someone undercut me on the gloves, and I bought the gloves from them, and I bought something else. But if I hadn't went and done my dailies before that, I wouldn't have been able to buy those. So I bought those and then sold them for the same price that my stuff was, and I sold everything. So have money to make money. All that good stuff.
Okay, so for you guys, when you're... Well, actually, the one thing I wanted Magic Ace to actually mention in here, I see that you typed something out. I buy them when the price drops, Kraft Ogs, and sell them for almost 5 million. Can you explain that? Because that's not something you have discussed on the show.
The charged matter transubstantiators. So you guys were saying that they're limited. They are, to the extent of how many players have them that are selling them and how often you're getting them in the crates. So it is limited, but not in the way of saying like you're capped per week or anything. Like you could technically get, I guess, like an infinite if you just had a ton of characters that you just kept grinding through the ranks and popping all the XP boost and, doing operations where you're getting the little things you can loot off the bosses and shoot yourself back up there. Because I know on my first tune that I got to 300 CXP, I got like 10 that week in the crates, and I was like, man, this is freaking great. So I had a stockpile of like 50 of them. So what I went and did is I looked on the GTN, and there was a ton of them that were selling for like 100 and 200K at the time, because that's when they were first really dropping. And I was like, I'm going to buy these now while they're cheap and while I actually have money from doing all the story, because going through the story I make like $1 million or $2 million every time. So I was like, I'm going to buy them now. I had a massive stockpile, and I went and crafted a ton of the new augments. When the new augments dropped, I went and crafted a ton of the new augments and was selling them for like 5.5 million a piece. And so I made 50 million credits in 2 nights just throwing a few on the GTN. And that's not even including the fact that I augmented some of my own tunes from the augments I was crafting, and then the crits I was getting from them. Like, yep. I was rolling in dough at that time. It was the best money making time for me in this game, hands down. And I bought stuff when it was cheap, and I held on to it. So it's a patience thing a lot of the times. If you don't have any patience and you're not going to come back and check, then money making on the GTN is nothing for you. Magic Baby's totally agreeing with me. You hear her back in the another thing is, I made the mistake of having multiple tunes selling stuff for me because I thought with different names it would look more competitive. But my problem was I didn't keep track of things, and I kept forgetting to put things back up there. So if you want to look like it's more competitive and you're not totally dominating the market so that your fellow sellers don't have, complexes about anything, then I would suggest limiting it to like 2 tunes and not multiple tunes, or have a like spreadsheet or a notebook or something written down, because I logged back in on a tune and it had been like a month and I'm like, no, this was expensive then. Now it's cheap. No. So then I had to hold on to it for a lot longer to sell it. And it was augments as well. I was kicking myself for that.
So actually first I want to quote Neffin from the chat room. Because I was asking, he was saying that basically he gets most of his money from selling high expensive mats because he doesn't need things for gear anymore. And so I was asking where he was getting them. And it sounds like then this is probably the same problem that Lisa's in. It's from the places that I haven't been spending any of my time. Flashpoints, completing Conquest, and CXP boxes.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So let me give you guys a real world opportunity right here. Okay. The brand new Rishi Stronghold has come out, and there's a lot of new decorations that are available exclusively for the Rishi Stronghold that you can buy using the Universal Mark IV kits. So there's a Universal, what do they call those things? The decoration vendors sell them. There's a Mark IV that's out now.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Okay.
I can't think of one. Hold on.
All right. So that means that everybody's like, ooh, we can make some money crafting those MK4 kits for people who now have the Rishi Stronghold. So there's suddenly demand for
Prefabs.
all.
I couldn't
Thank
think.
you. Universal
You're
prefabs.
talking about the prefabs.
Yes.
Yeah.
So suddenly there's a lot of market desire for those. There's a Mark IV universal prefabs, which means that there's massive demand for the materials to make them, because those crafters don't. I'm telling you, it's inconvenient to run around and having to gather all this stuff all over the swamps. I get it. But if you're willing to go do that, there's a market to sell those. It's a unique time where you can take advantage of that market if you're willing to go do that work. So right now, Mark 10. I know that the slicing materials are high. The blues and the purples, there's some demand for those. There's some demand for the underworld trading materials, the level 9 and 10 blues and purples. There's some demand for the iridescent crystals, the blue, red, and the green. It's the 9 and 10 of those. All of those are materials that go into the making of those kits. Because the Rishi Stronghold is out now, I'm telling you, it's like the surfer catching the wave. You have to know, hey, hold on a moment. Here's something that's going on in the market right now, and I learned that off the PTS. I opened my own little stronghold.
And these are all the conventional crafting materials that you use in order to make those MK4 things.
Absolutely. It's a good opportunity.
Cool.
And I'm just throwing this out there because I was like, oh, I'd like to.
Well, and I remember, what was it, the dark matter catalysts or whatever? Because you used to be able to make those. They took a tremendous amount of materials, but you could actually sell them for a ton.
Right.
Except that I always actually used them to buy decorations, because I wanted one of every decoration.
Right.
That I still have like 35 of those things in my bank, because I'm waiting for something that I want. Because there's several things I want, but I'm not buying them yet until I know the perfect place in a stronghold for them. So now that I have
Rishi, right, like one of the things I had to have was a duplicate of my smuggler's ship, because I wanted it on the landing pad on Tatooine.
Right.
Yeah, that's how I am with my bounty hunter and agent. I have like 3 of each of their ships.
So I guess to sum up my point though is that
that's a great tip. That's the sort of thing that I'm wondering about, because that's where you would start with materials you have in order to make something to put onto the GTN and then make some credits.
Right.
Then you could do that in your spare time. Okay, I logged in, I queue some stuff up to get some crafting, I go out and I do some playing. Because that's the other thing, and then along to what Magic is indicating is that once you then have that seed money, because that's where I'm at. It's like, where do I get the seed money other than dailies? Right?
Do some dailies.
Which I can
There's
do,
wrong with
but
that.
that's mind-bogglingly numb. Like, I fall asleep whenever I do dailies.
The thing is, you can print money in this game by doing dailies.
I turn on Netflix or YouTube and I like set my mind like, okay, I'm going to do 3 planets on 3 tunes, and I'm going to hop, because I get bored playing one class all the time. So like, I'm going to do 3 planets on 3 tunes, and I'm going to watch this, and I'm going to get through this, 10 YouTube videos that I kept telling myself I'm going to watch, and I never do. Boom, I killed 2 birds with 1 stone, and I feel productive and rich. It's
right.
This is a tip for you.
I mean, yeah, no. So I've mentioned it in chat a couple of times, and other people have mentioned it as well. Anybody who is willing to do the work no one else wants to do, there's an opportunity there for you. If you're willing to do dailies, then you get the money from doing dailies, and they don't.
And we've now got people in the chat room that are talking about, if you've got 6 tunes in a guild, you get each tune to 15,000 conquest points, and at the end of the conquest week, you're going to get 3 to 4 of the charged matter transubstantiators that you like so much. So they're getting 20 plus a week doing that. Now that's a heck of a lot of work, but at least that's time in.
Right.
That's getting some kind of profit out. And I know that mostly, like, really it'd take the big chunk of the time that I'm not spending on a plan like that is, it's not actually the gameplay, it's the needing to sit down and look at the conquest needs for the week, and then actually scheduling how I'm going to do that across multiple characters and investing that kind of time.
Sure.
Right, but at least then what you're saying is that there are ways to do this. Now it's not as conventional as go out, scavenge a bunch of materials, make something, put it on the GTN. But it is at least go out and play the game, and you should be able to find ways to play it the way that you prefer to play it, towards this goal of also then generating something that you could make some money off of the GTN.
Yeah. So here's another thing: is that if everybody is doing something, there's going to be less money in it. Especially if everybody can do it and it's easy and everybody wants to do easy, then you're going to make the same money everybody else makes doing easy. Doing
It's my
PvP,
money and
for
I
instance.
want it now.
If you do PvP,
Okay.
there's money in PvP, completing your dailies, completing your weeklies, but you're just going to make the money doing dailies and weeklies in PvP. And there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you want to do. But if you want to make more money, then there's other strategies that are more effective for making money. PvP is not it. So I mean, it's really, what are you playing for? What are you trying to get out?
So is that where you see most of your, like, when you guys spend time on the GTN now? Then it's not actually crafting something that you know is in demand that you can take the time to do it or whatever. It's more centered around having some money, and then you're buying mounts or decorations or something that you know is in limited supply off the GTN to resell at a higher time, which might require waiting.
Buy low and sell high, and if that means you have to hold, you hold. Absolutely.
Well, yeah, it's basically poker. You gotta know when to hold them. No, so hold it. Just hold it. No,
But
actually, what I was gonna say was
hold it.
just hold. Don't fold. Just hold it. No, actually, what I was gonna say is really also this is for the people who have more money, I would say. Buy a couple packs that people are selling individually that are like 250K or like 500K. Buy those. Buy 5 or 6 of them, and you hold on to them, especially when they're still like 15, 20 of them of those same ones on the market. Hold on to them,
right?
Because whether you decide later on to open it yourself or sell it later, because people are going to want something that's in that pack and they can't buy that pack anymore.
Ooh,
that you have
there's an important principle right there.
That you can get this. And what's important is to be watching the cartel market and say, okay, this one's been gone for X amount of months. It's a good time to go ahead and put it up now. Especially if you look at what kind of things were in that pack and look at the prices they're putting out on the GTN right now. And then if you feel like, hey, I might get lucky and have a really nice item in there that's expensive, then you could open them up yourself and take that gamble. You might even find stuff you like. But I've actually done that a couple times and just held on to a pack. In fact, that's how I made so much money when I swapped from the Bastion to Shadowlands. There was a character, it was my sniper. I left her at level 17 and never looked back. And when the Bastion merged over into this server, because I had moved from Shadowlands to here. Yeah, now we're on Steel Sean. So now I have my sniper, and I decided to level her. I'm like, you know what? The only sniper I ever made. I'm going to level this tune. I log on, I look in her cargo bank, and I was like, what? He's been here for years. And I made so much money off of like the covert armor energy set, the covert energy armor set. Right. Oh my gosh. I made a crap ton of money. I was so thrilled. And it was an accident. But I'm like, that is how I need to do it.
So do those lightning weapon tuning things still sell pretty well? I've got one of those in my stronghold.
I made 24 million off of one, and I made 9 million off of Havoc Flare.
Yeah. Okay. So the idea behind holding, what happens is they release a new pack, right? Here's the ABC pack. That's the new thing. What happens is that everybody's buying the pack, so that's the time at which the market is the most flooded with it. When you have a lot of supply, prices are going to go down. Like, so that's why you hold them, because what happens is that they get bought up, people end up sitting on them, people open them. Over time, the market clears out. The supply goes down. A long time later, there is no supply. When there is no supply, you can put that pack out there for exorbitant prices because you're not competing with anybody. Competition makes prices go down. That's why I'm saying this does compare to real life in some ways, because a market is a market. The forces of supply and demand are the same things here, even though this is a centralized, economic system. I get it, and it's a closed system. Agreed. The supply and demand are the same.
Arguably, what you're actually seeing, though, and the problem is that it's still not entirely true, because as she pointed out, the lack of credit sinks makes it troubling, which means really you have to be off of the GTN. This is why you need seed money. You have to be off of the GTN and grind certain things in order to gain credits, which you can do. Dailies are easy, fine, whatever. If you want to take the time, it's just a matter of me not wanting to take the time. Even though it's not even that much time, it's like an hour that I could just be doing literally anything else. But that said, what I'm learning from talking to you guys more than anything is that this is less an auction house or a trading, this is less a manufacturer, open market and profit. nowadays, whereas that's what it used to be. Like I knew
Right.
there were things that I could literally do and then use the auction house or the GTN in order to gain profit off of what I did. I made something, I
Sure.
did something, I gathered materials, and then I profit off of it by selling that. Now, instead of it being trade my time for credits, what you're saying is that really this is much more of a stock market.
Yes, exactly.
There you go.
Yes.
Yes, it's a
Right?
stock market. You just got to
And so-
find out what's the right commodity.
Because it's much more and also it's much more speculation. You also have to make the bet that this item is going to be in high demand,
Okay.
and then know when it's considered low to buy low, and then that's your speculation. You're hoping that eventually, through your patience, the price will go up, and then you can make profit off of it.
Right.
Right? Right?
Right.
As
Absolutely.
opposed to an open market where you're trying to sell your stuff.
Absolutely.
Because
You
right,
made something you're
to
bringing it to market.
to Elise's point, it's an even more closed market right now. It used to be that it was open in the sense that you could actually do things in the rest of the game. It was open to the aspects of the rest of the game that could then contribute into the market, and there was an exchange in and out. People had credits, they bought the things that they didn't want to spend the time out of the market to go get and do and make and build. Now it's an entirely closed stock market style system where you can buy into the things that are already on the market in order to speculatively make some profit off of those things that are already in the market. Except for a few things like, and I do really like your MK4 tip. That is something that I will probably explore spending some time in for now until all of those items for this new stronghold are actually flush.
It will die down. I mean,
Right.
this is a unique opportunity.
So it
That's
would be
why I say
something
that.
to jump on now, right? Because the advantage for the augmentation kits previously, because they were independent of CXP packs or random material gains, was that you could actually just go out and farm materials. You know, it took a lot of time to go out and farm them, and it took some time to queue it up and craft them and everything. But end of the day, it was a fixed amount of time that you knew that you could spend without any RNG involved.
Right.
And then after you spent your time doing that, you knew you could go to the GTN and make money off of that, because every character was always going to need another augmentation kit. Every piece of gear, if you wanted to swap one out, and this was also pre-designer days, right? So you couldn't stamp what your character looked like. So if you wanted to change your look, you also had to get more augmentation kits. So there was always a continuous need for augmentation kits, which has become less the case nowadays.
Yeah. So what that means is that the demand has gone down a little bit. So if your supply stays the same, the prices are going to plummet because people don't need them as much as they used to. Switching between looks. But actually, I mean, there's still quite some demand going on because people still level alts. They want to, So what happened is when they introduced what was the name of the thing? The Master's Datacron and equipment. What you could suddenly do with a character that you couldn't do beforehand is start a character, same day be max level 70 with a full set of 230s, which means that you've got a character that day one didn't exist. Day two is suddenly an endgame character in need of augment kits. So your supply, your demand goes way up just with the introduction of that one item. And so, hey, suddenly there's a market for augment kits. Let's go get these things made. So you do that. And so if you are willing to do the supply on that, meet the market, there's money to be made right there. So it's part of it is kind of is keeping an eye on what the changes are that come to the game and thinking to yourself, how does this affect the economics in this game? How does this affect markets? What are going to be the ripples that come out from this? And is there any way that I can catch the wave when it comes my way? And
and the funny thing is at the end of the day, what you realize is the vast majority of the things that you could be speculative on or that you could buy, hold, sell later are things that come off of the cartel market. Like the vast majority.
Right.
I bet over 90%.
Totally.
So really, from this dynamic of the game, it's totally pay to win.
Yeah. All of them say, like all of the articles say, all I do, I mean, there's 10 people per conversation on Reddit that were like, I just buy the cartel market packs and sell those. All right. I mean,
okay, but when you got people like me though, who I don't put extra money into the game anymore because now I've got another kid. And so the only cartel coins I spend are what I get on my monthly thing for being a sub already. I spend those on it, but if they didn't give them to me and I was a sub, I wouldn't be spending extra. So it's not like I'm actually spending money to get these packs because Like
No,
I play
understand
another
that.
game.
But
No,
the
I'm
definition
making a
of pay to
point.
win is that you could choose to put real money into it and
Right,
leapfrog
making a
your
point.
entire process.
Right.
But I'm making a point. I can still get to level 70. I can still do all the in-game content without buying that pack. So it's not gating my actual play experience. It's more cosmetic stuff, just like with about crap ton of other games. So my point is, people like me, I may or may not decide to do a pack, but more often than not, what I do is I spend my credits that I've earned on the GTN. And if I bought a pack, most of the time I regret it. And then I'm like, ugh, bad luck because RNG hates me. And instead what I do is I spend those cartel coins to unlock the things that I bought off the cartel market. So I wouldn't necessarily personally say play to win just because it's not gating the rest of my stuff. But if that's the case, then I feel like
that's why I
Overwatch is,
made it very specific about
play as well.
playing the GTN.
Yes.
Right.
Not the rest of the game, just simply playing the GTN when it comes to this particularly speculative market.
Making
model
money in
that
SWTOR,
dominates
right.
now. Right. Then
Well, I
that's going
know
to be...
back before the events came out, like every 3 months or whatever, and they were like once a year, people sold things from those events for insane amounts of money. And that was because they actually went and did the event. The people that didn't want to do the event and didn't want to grind, they just wanted, like, the things that came off of it, or now decorations. Like, I know I went in with people who went and did Chaos Under Siege just for the little pet so they could go sell it. Or what, maybe it was deco, I can't remember. Anyways, so they could go sell it for the express purpose of just selling it. And they wouldn't even finish it. They would just leave after that boss and just head back out and sell it. So I guess from that point of view, it could be pay to play or play to win, whatever. Pay to win. I know what I'm talking about. I promise. But maybe that 90%, but in all honesty, most of the time when I make money, it's because of something that was an accident or I crafted it. Like, I sat on something and was like, oh, awesome, I'm so glad, I'm going to make it look like I knew what I was doing. And then on the other hand, it's like, I did the work, I did the crafting, I sold it, and I spent so much time and effort to feed all those companion gifts to that companion so that companion would be high enough to crit for me, so I'd get 2 to sell. So I personally don't feel like that just because I work my butt off when I make money there. Sorry, my daughter's playing with Hot Wheels.
Sounds like fun. Is there anything anyone else wants to say in wrapping this up? Because we should probably move on to announcements. Are we good? It's certainly a harrowing thing getting in the GTN. Everybody's got a philosophy. Everyone's got things they like that they want to spend time doing, that they don't want to spend time doing. It is what it is. And in that complex tapestry of activity, there is money to be made if you can figure things out. I think definitely trying to figure things out is a challenge. Let me cross real quick into announcements. The only thing that's on our radar right now is that when they rolled out the Rishi Stronghold, apparently we'll get hit by some kind of a lag performance issue in the Stronghold. I don't know if it's just with that or if it's everywhere else, but people were like, oh my goodness, I'm getting lag, I'm getting some pretty terrible performance. They noticed that it was related to the line of sight feature that they put in with some of the decos for the PvP. So they've turned that feature off for now. I don't quite know what that means because I haven't gone out there and done that. But apparently they're planning a patch for Thursday this week. So August the 16th, they will hopefully deploy a patch, and that will fix all of this. So for now, anyone trying to PvP in these strongholds, look out for line of sight. It's not going to work. You're going to get shot in the face through walls, I guess. I guess that's what that means. I don't know. Yeah, that's it.
Wow.
Well, I'll invite you to my Strongholds card and we'll find out.
All right. I think we've successfully got to the end on this. Magic?
We would like to, at this moment, say thank you. Thank you to everyone who hung out with us in chat. Thank you to everyone who was talking in chat. We also really appreciate our lurkers. Thank you. We love to feel like you're, breathing down our necks, kind of being creepy and all. We love you. We love that. It's great. Thank you so much to everyone who is on our Patreon, who supports us and helps us with all this awesome tech and all the cool stuff that Sakari makes happen, and apparently Redna, because he likes being an X-Wing. So we would like to say thank you so much. Thank you to everyone. We appreciate you. Oh, wait, and the people who download our podcast. You guys are great.
And that brings us to the end of the episode. The council is adjourned. If you'd like to reach us, you can email us at thecouncil@thecouncilswotor.com. Like our Facebook page at facebook.com/thecouncilswotor. You can find Elise on Twitter at abrown35, Magic Ace at the Magic Ace, me at R3DN4, and Sakari at I am Sakari. Also, don't forget our Patreon page at patreon.com/thecouncilswotor, where patrons can catch the articles we're talking about behind the scenes and exclusive backstage access to our after show chat. That's it for us this week, guys. I'm ending all of this. The tree, the texts, the Jedi. I'm going to burn it all down.
I understand.
You are on this council, but we do not grant you the rank of master.
What? How can you do this? This is outrageous. It's unfair. How can you be on the council and not be a master?
Take a seat, young Skywalker.
Forgive me, Master.